Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and this is going to be a short video regarding two civil lawsuits against Mr. Kelly. For some reason, the media was putting out stories yesterday about the appellate court had upheld the $4 million default judgment that was given to Heather Williams a couple of years ago. And you guys might remember Heather Williams was in the Chicago case, the Cook County case, and she was the one that the story, it was weird. Like at one point they said she was walking down the street and he stopped her, and then in another story they said she was having dinner at a restaurant with her mom. I think it was her birthday or something, and he slipped them the phone number. Anyway, child, whatever the story was, you guys know the Chicago case. They have dropped all the charges against him. He's not going to go to trial for that. But in the meantime, for those of you who are not familiar with this, Heather Williams sued Mr. Kelly in 2019, but she filed her lawsuit while he was locked up in the Cook County jail. She served him with the papers, or sent the papers to the jail. He's saying that he never received the papers, or maybe they handed him the papers as he was being released on bond, and he didn't really know what it was. So several lawyers have stepped in to try and represent him in this case. But because he couldn't appear, he was awaiting trial in the Eastern District of New York at the time, and so he couldn't, be worried about the civil case. She was awarded a default judgment of $4 million. And so not only was she awarded the default judgment of $4 million, but the company that handled or that owned the building where his studio was at, they were also given a default judgment of $4 million, even though they were only suing for like $360,000. And I mentioned this recently to you guys that he probably should have tried to pay the Midwest Commercial Properties Company, because they were only seeking like $360,000, but because it went to a default judgment, they were awarded $4 million. And these judges were just being petty and just trying to give this man's money away. So there was a struggle between Heather Williams and the Midwest property guys to see who would be able to collect on his royalties through Sony first. And so first it was ruled that the Midwest properties people would get the judgment first, but then Heather Williams protested, and so they went to the appeals court. The appeals court upheld her judgment, default judgment. And so I had shared this with you guys back in September of last year. I believe it wasn't a separate video. It was actually a video that I probably was talking about something else, and I just threw in, oh yeah, and then with this Heather Williams case. And so the article, it says Illinois' First District Appellate Court Appeals Panel preserves $4 million default judgment against Mr. Kelly. And it says the state appeals panel was upheld a $4 million default judgment a Cook County court entered against singer R. Kelly in connection with allegations of abuse. The Illinois First District Appellate Court issued a decision on the matter September 30th. Justice Mary Ellen Coughlin wrote the opinions. Justices Michael Hyman and Carl Walker concurred the order was issued under Supreme Court Rule 23, which may restrict its use as precedence. And the article went on and said some more things. But once again, this was in September of last year. So there was a hearing on this case because since then, Jennifer Bongine has picked up the mantle to try and get this judgment thrown out. And so they've been going to court hearings, ever since last year on this. And there was a hearing on yesterday. So the hearing on yesterday, my understanding is that they voided the judgment, and they're going to have another hearing in April. And so of course I can't find the transcripts on these lawsuits. I may have to call the courthouse to see if they are available, but the Bongine Law Group basically posted that the default judgment was voided, and they attached it to a letter, article from Billboard, where they were basically sharing this information that I just read to you guys, which was from September of last year. And so I don't know if these blog sites like the Shade Room, Billboard, and all of that are confused about what's happening, or if they are intentionally putting out misinformation on this lawsuit. But there is another hearing that is scheduled. I believe it's April 10th of next month. So in a couple of weeks is when the next hearing is going to take place on this case. And Jennifer Bongine is still working to get this. I don't know if they're going to reset the clock and hear the case all over again, or what is going on. But the Bongine Group did post that they have voided this judgment on behalf of Heather Williams. Not sure what's going on with the Midwest Properties case. I'll look that up and get back with you guys on what the status of that is. But I am sure that is the same thing. They are contesting these default judgments and how these judges were just basically giving this man's money away. And actually money that he doesn't even have, because as Judge Lennon Weber said in the Northern District of Illinois case, the IRS has now put a lien that is growing interest by the day against his royalties with Sony. So even if these judgments stand, these women will probably never get any of this money. So now the other case was this lawsuit that I told you guys about back in, I want to say it was December of 2021. A lot of people seem to be surprised by this case and think that it is a new case. But if you guys remember, I let you know that back in December, it was after the Eastern District of New York case was decided, that Faith Rogers put her lawsuit on hold. Remember, she was suing him as well in New York, and so she put her case on hold, and she joined this other case, which I guess they were trying to make it like a class action lawsuit. And in that lawsuit, it was Lizette Martinez, Faith Rogers, maybe Faith's mom, I can't remember, I don't have the documents here in front of me, and then there were two other guys that had also joined, and they were suing for I think $50 million, some astronomical amount. But I'm pretty sure I did a video on that, so if you go back to December of 2021 or late 2021, early 2022, you should be able to find that video. Now, my understanding on this lawsuit, based on what I have been able to research, is that this lawsuit was, once again, a default order was entered because there was no response from Mr. Kelly. Oh, and they were also suing, in that lawsuit, they were suing Mr. Kelly, Don Russell, RSK Enterprises, and IndieBill Corp., which is Don Russell's company. And so the default ruling was entered back in January of this year, and there was supposed to be a hearing on March 10th, which was going to, I guess, be like the penalty phase or the judgment phase for the judge to see how much they were going to award these people, if they were going to award the $50 million or a lesser amount, or how that was going to play out. So you guys were reaching out to me about this. My understanding is that that default is still in place, And so people were saying that there was a hearing taking place, there were court cases going on, people were testifying. And so my thought was that the people were basically in the penalty phase of this civil lawsuit, and they were explaining why they felt that they deserved this money. But people were saying, no, that's not the case, that Don Russell had filed a countersuit, and so the hearing had started about this countersuit. Now, guys, I can't say whether that is accurate or not. All I can tell you is that I researched, looked for it, tried to find it, and all I could find on this case that took place this year was one that back in January, the judge entered a default ruling because there was no response from Mr. Russell or Mr. Kelly or these companies. We know RSK Enterprises is probably a defunct company now, so they weren't going to get a response from them. So they ruled in favor of the plaintiffs and set a March 10th hearing to decide on what the award was going to be. And then there was a document that Don Russell filed a couple of documents. They didn't make any kind of sense. In one document, he was saying that he was a Native American or something, like, don't quote me on that, but it was something about his citizenship where he was trying to say he wasn't a real citizen, but he had certain rights as a native of the youth. It was bizarre. Okay, I don't know what was going on with that. It sounded like one of those things where, remember Wesley Snipes got caught up in that case where he was trying to avoid paying his taxes and it landed him in jail with more time. It was like one of those things, some sovereignty or something like that. And then there was another document that he filed, but it was filed, I believe, back in January also, and the courts ruled against him in that and said that it wasn't going to proceed, and that might have been like a counter to this hearing or counter to this case. But I have not been able to find anything that stated that there was a hearing, that there was a trial taking place, a civil trial taking place on this matter. I can't find anything saying that the judge reversed his decision from January where he entered the default ruling because nobody responded. I have not been able to find anything of that sort. So I'm not going to say to you that there isn't a civil hearing going on right now. What I will be able to say is I have researched, checked, looked up. I can't find anything to indicate that there is a trial going on in Mr. Kelly's in that civil case with Lizette Martinez, Faith Rogers, and these other people. So I tried to find the information for you to answer your questions, but my understanding is that the judge ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, and that there was supposed to be on March 9th or 10th, there was supposed to be a hearing to determine how much money was going to be awarded to them. And then I can tell you, in looking every day, I've been looking up, trying to see what the final ruling was. And as of Thursday, I think was the last day that I logged in and checked, the last documents that were filed in this case were from March 9th, I believe it was. And it was once again these documents that Don Russell had sent in that didn't make any sense to me, so I can't even begin to tell you what they were. But I have checked and I don't see anything about a hearing. I haven't been able to find an open case where Don Russell is countersuing them. Maybe he did it in a different court, maybe it's not in the same court and I'm just not bringing it up. I don't know, but you guys asked. That's my update. That's what I was able to find in this case. If you have any more information or I'm looking in the wrong place, please let me know and tell me where I should be looking for this information, and I will do my due diligence to research it and then come back and let you guys know what I found out. So anyway, I just want to bring you this quick update and to answer those questions. And I do have another video that I want to bring you. It's a part 2 to the video I did about the whole BOP Tasha K thing. You guys had a whole bunch of questions about that. And so I did, some research to kind of better explain to you guys what's going on. You guys are like, oh, it is breaking the law. He could, they need to go to jail. That's not going to happen. But I did find out some more information on that situation. And as soon as I get enough time to shift through all of that, I will do a part 2 video on, that criminal or internal, and explain to you the bar, how high the bar is for Mr. Kelly to get the BOP to move and do anything about that information being released beyond what they've already done, which was the lady being forced to retire. So guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon and your weekend. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye bye.